Oh dear, there's something going on. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, horror fans. Apparently, there's something going on with my with my camera. What the heck is this? Let's take that off. No, no. That was fucking crazy. How's it going, everyone? Welcome, horror fans. It is Wednesday, a little bit after 7 p.m. Central Time. That was freaking crazy. And that means it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast, the only podcast where trust is a tough thing to come by these days. And if you, dear horror fanatic, are listening to us at the top of the week, remember we do this live here every Wednesday, right here on YouTube. Come hang out with us and see all the stuff that our editor doesn't want you to see. This week we are covering select horror films released September 10th through September 16th. Thank you all so much for joining us. I am JL, and Eugene is supposed to be joining me tonight, but he may be held up. So, yes, I apologize about that, but hopefully he will be short. But we have some stuff to talk about. We have something to talk about before we dive into tonight's selections. So, first and foremost, let's do this. Let's get up that Patreon banner. There is the Patreon banner. All of the amazing people that help to make this show possible. We appreciate your support. We love you for it. Thank you all very, very much. Every single one of you rocks. So we do appreciate that over here. Oh man, where does the time go? Already in September? This is nuts. This is crazy. Oh man, time is flying. It absolutely is. All right. Well, I'm going to try and give Eugene a little bit more time to get here. He did message me. What did he say? I don't know what Eugene said. He said, okay, so he's a little bit, he's on his way. He's on his way. All right. So first and foremost, let's take a gander at the live chat and see which of these, what horror fanatics are in here tonight. I see we've got Raven Darkstar. Says, hello. Good to see you. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Travis Brown as well says, evening, crazy Nic Cage lovers. Yes, we are talking about a Nic Cage movie tonight. It's going to be fantastic. And I see Casey Cooper as well says, oh, Mandy, the horror, true horror. Wait, are we talking about Barry Manilow? Yeah, probably. We likely are. But Zero is here. Says, Beyond the Black Rainbow. Panos Cosmatos, yes, we are going to get into it, I promise you. But I'm so excited about the episode tonight. We got cool, good movies across the board, and of course, Mandy as well. I know everybody is, just like jumping for it. We want to talk about that. We want to dive that movie. Who else we got here? I see we've got Ivy Gentry has made it. Says, hi, made it. Good to see you, Ivy. Thanks so much for being here tonight. We do appreciate it. And I almost said it again. Javers says, hi, I made it to one. Hello from WW. Where the hell am I? South Dakota? I think I'm in the right time zone. Good to see you, Javers. Thanks so much for being here tonight. We do appreciate it. Jefferson Spatchcock is in the house. So watching Mandy on Tubi with ad breaks is pretty weird. Yeah, I think you mentioned that. Yes, an ad for Gain laundry detergent. Yeah, that would be kind of like a tonal shift, like almost like granny shifting your transmission. I can imagine what that's like. Sarcasm is here. Good to see you. Sarcasm says, I have a strange feeling that we will fly through the second and third and get to number 4. Maybe. I'll try not to. The other films deserve some respect. They do deserve a little bit of respect. We have some fun stuff to talk about there, but we will get there. I promise you. Let me see who else we have in the chat tonight. Robert Bider's here. Says, you can start now. I have arrived. My pleasure. And we gave you plenty of time. Apologize for the bit of a late start. I was trying to give Eugene enough time, but I realized we got to get the show on the road. And we got plenty to talk about. So he's got time to get here. Yeah, before we do. And who else do we have here as well? We've got Denova28 has popped in. Good to see you, Denova, one of our amazing patrons. Thanks so much for being here tonight, bud. Joshua Lee says, hey, everyone. Good to see you. There's Aaron Racy's holding down the fortress. I hope Eugene brings a fire hose to take JL down when he starts on another one of his Mandy mythology rants. Motherfucker, we are going to dive into it, okay? We're going to dive into it like Scrooge McDuck into a friggin' vault, and it's going to be amazing. So many layers, and we're going to peel them. We're going to peel them like a Panos Cosmatos onion. It's going to be beautiful. Let me see who else we have here tonight. What other fanatics? Charlie Welch is in the house. The only man on the internet you never make a bet with. Good to see you, Welchie. Says, finally something that's not a goddamn court stream. Good point. Don't need to dive into that further. I have my opinions on that, but thank you very much. Yes, Week in Horror is all about taking a break from the standard. We talk about horror movies, we break them down. We all fucking love horror movies here, and that's the whole point. It's just a little bit different, It's something to give you kind of a palate cleanser right there in the middle of your week when all the usual content or like the classic content, the stuff that everybody's doing. Sometimes we need a break. Week in Horror is that break, especially if you love horror movies. Who else we got here in the house? Yep, I'm alone and late. Apologize, Ivy. My bad. Wrote it, no last name is here. Says Gabba Gabba to you. Says I'm writing a horror comedy script. I really hope my jokes kill. Gabba Gabba. Very nice. I love it. Love what you did there. Yes, apparently I was another brick in the wall, Travis. I was. Oh, Aaron Reese says he almost set his pants on fire. Don't do that. That's bad. Unless, of course, you're just telling a lie. So maybe you shouldn't do that either. But let me see. Eugene, meanie, take a look. Yes, definitely. He needs to get here. But he will. I'm sure he will. Brian Powell is here. Good to see you, Brian Powell. Says, good evening, everyone. Sumi is here. It's his first time here looking at starting to watch horrors. This is a great place to start. As of current, we are coming up on like 800 and some odd, like almost 900 films we've talked about, going all the way back to season 1. And while some of those early episodes are a little cringeworthy because we hadn't really figured things out yet, we have like plenty of movies, and we go obscure. We talk about everything. So mainstream, the hot shit, and of course stuff that you've probably never even heard of. So feel free. There's plenty to go around. Let me see who else we have here tonight. Jefferson Spatchlock says Demons 2 is fun, wild and gross, but fun. It was a fun movie. It was, absolutely was. Left-Handed Jedi's here. Says hello, everyone. Good to see you, Left-Handed. Thanks so much for being here tonight. And I see Javier Juarez here. Says I just got here, but am I really? Yes, I see you lurking over there, good sir. I see you lurking, and thank you so much for being here. Yeah, we have covered a bunch, Sumi. We absolutely have. Sarcasm says Eugene is busy drawing obscene storyboards for his OnlyFans project. No doubt. No doubt of that in my mind at all. So, yes. Aaron Reese says we're waiting for season 6 to break up and fight over custody of Eugene and Alex. All right. So, it's wild. It's so intense because here we are. And this is the penultimate episode. Next week is the season finale of season 4. The season finale of season 4 is amazing. 4 years down. All these movies we talked about, in everything that we brought in, and all of the support from our patrons and the kind of community that we've built here, it's amazing. And to have the show go on for 4 years, never miss a single week, is just like, we never anticipated this, which is why we're so looking forward to season 5. So a couple things that you can expect. Of course, the patrons will get advance notice of this in the Patreon newsletter. So if you are a member of the Patreon, then you will get that monthly newsletter, give you all the heads up of what's going on, all the changes that we're making, the new stuff that we're bringing in. And of course, we have all kinds of stuff. And of course, look for when the after the season finale for a whole slew of new shit to go live on the store. Not to mention, and I have to bring this up because it's live right now. We made, and I think Eugene would appreciate this, a new item we just dropped on the store is a puzzle of the shit got real or shit gets real, Eugene's catchphrase. So we turned that limited edition artwork into a puzzle, and it's beautiful because it's long ways to see the Reaper and everything, and it's frameable. So I'm thinking about getting one just so I can put it together and frame it for the office. I think it's fucking cool as shit. But we've got new shirts, new limited edition t-shirt coming up. Everything's going to go live after the season finale, and you can see all the cool stuff that we're going to have. And not to mention, trivia prizes that we give out each night is going to be all the new stuff. It's going to be new stuff as well, like new stickers, new drinkware, new t-shirts, all the cool new stuff that we've made. So we're seriously looking forward to debuting all of that. Oh, yeah, it has been 4 years, Ivy. It is absolutely 4 years long. It's going to be amazing. And we're so looking forward to season 5. Oh, we have so much cool stuff coming up in season 5. It's going to be a blast. Rodin Los Names says, would you guys consider doing a special episode, a top 10 starter films for people who don't know where to begin in horror? That's an intriguing idea, and I think we should take that into consideration. Thank you for that idea, Rodin Los Names. We do appreciate that. That's really, really good. So, the first thing that I want to show you all was a trailer that dropped that. Okay, I've only seen the first couple of seconds because the minute I started watching it, I could not watch anymore because I knew I had to watch it with all of you. So I had to throw it in the terror tube, and we're going to cue that up here in just a second because in the vein of movies like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, as these old things move into the public domain, we're getting, I think Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey opened the door for new areas for horror to explore. And that is absolutely what is happening here because I'm going to show you all the trailer. I cannot believe these words are coming out of my mouth. For Three Blind Mice. It is a horror film called Three Blind Mice. And I know you're hearing the nursery rhyme in your heads right now because we all fucking grew up with it. But this is the trailer for Three Blind Mice. Man, I wish Eugene was here so he could see this with me. I so want to get his reaction to this. This would be so fucking hilarious. But let's cue up the terror tube and check out the trailer for Three Blind Mice. This is so fucking funny.
Abigail, your parents have asked me to come and speak to you about your substance abuse habit and relative issues.
You're
needs to go to
cokehead.
rehab.
I find it takes better if the whole family is involved. But we will get your daughter back. I promise.
Oh my God!
You're coming. You're coming.
That was the trailer for Three Blind Mice, if you can believe that shit. Yes, Three Blind Mice is a horror film that is coming out, and I don't know. There's very few details on this thing, but it's just Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey opened the door for so many. Like, next thing you know, we are going to get a Steamboat Willie horror film, because Steamboat Willie, the original version of Mickey Mouse, not the current one with the red pants and so on and so, but the old black and white one has entered the public domain, and we're going to get a Steamboat Willie one. I have no doubt we're going to get a Steamboat Willie horror film. At least somebody's going to do it. But yeah, Three Blind Mice, set for release this year, and I think or maybe it's next year. I have no idea, but yeah. There's not a lot of details out of him. Directed by Pierre B., written by David Malcolm. I don't have an official release date, but it kind of follows the same line, the same Winnie the Pooh, pork and ass. That'd be funny as shit. Vibes of Creep from 2004, and a little bit of Evil Dead, a little bit of Fede Alvarez's Evil Dead setup, because the main character Abby is going cold turkey. Her family have taken her to a cabin in the woods, so she's away from the city. And then the Three Blind Mice show up and like eat them. So it's I would say Evil Dead vibes, the Evil Dead remake vibes as well. So very, very weird. But there you have it. The Three Blind Mice trailer. Sarcasm says, Uncorked puts out some serious horror and some serious Z grade. No telling where this will fall. I'm looking forward to it. I've got to. Something is. It's like that thing you see. You're just like, oh, I have to. I can't. I just can't deny that it's there. I've got to embrace this and give it a shot. Let me see here. Rodinella Save says, mice, mutated, intelligent, cannibalistic extremists? Maybe. This is they look like Nosferatu rejects. They kind of do. Like, the creatures from Mulberry Street, suddenly got loose in the woods and they're blind, and now they're like, attacking people out there. So Deadite mice. Agreed, Deadite mice. Shit like that. So I'm really curious. But for you out there, okay, I see some curiosity for the movie for Three Blind Mice, in the live chat here. But for you out there listening, let us know down in the comments. After viewing the trailer for Three Blind Mice, not a lot of details out, but are you looking forward to seeing it? It'll likely go straight to streaming. I don't know if it's going to get a theatrical release, but I know you're probably going to check it out. But what do you think? Are you excited for it? Like in the vein of Winnie the Pooh, and of course its sequel that's going to come out next year. So let us know down in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com what you think about the upcoming Three Blind Mice. Yay, nay, what the fuck? Definitely we want to hear about that. Oh, let's see. Oh man, I was hoping to give Eugene plenty of time before we got into this. I really was, because we got some movies to dive into, and I know people are. I know. All of you are like, we must get them. We must. We absolutely must. I'm trying to burn time. Aaron Ray says, I'm getting tired of that low grade horror movies thinking they can get by without some nudity. Damn millennials think they're too good for some gratuitous sex. I agree. I kind of agree with that. I do. And fortunately, in the movies we're talking about tonight, there's plenty of that shit, especially in the first three. In the first three, there's plenty of that. Oh, man. Let me see here. Angel Rivera, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Says, I punish myself by watching Winnie the Pooh. My wife will castrate me if I make her watch Three Blind Mice. You've got to. You've got to. It's going to be great. She may even give him back to you, take him out of that canopic jar under the bed and let you have him back. It could be that awesome. It may not be. It may be complete trash. We have no idea. At least it's not an asylum film, which is shocking. Oh, let me see here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, TNA. TNA. That's what gets it. All right. Well, I think we're going to have to jump into tonight's selections. And Aaron says Eugene can't be here because Travis is wearing his skin. Ugh. That won't fit well at all. That'll look like that. That's a Men in Black shit right there. Okay, let's dive into our selections tonight. Let's see what movies we got up. So first up, we have released September 10th, 1986. I was 6 years old when this came out. September 10th, 1986, we have the sequel, Demons 2. Let's check out this trailer. Cue up the terror tube. Argento, my man.
Hey, wait! There's something weird here.
I loved what the kid did. What happened with the kid? That shit was hilarious.
Callie?
Hello? 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 Hello?
The music is so perfect. The whole score of the entire film was just fantastic. I love that shot. Yes! Yes! I love it. The gym scene is bananas. It absolutely is, Jefferson. The trailer's showing all the good parts. There's Asia. Yes, that was the trailer for Demons 2. So, Demons 2, 1986 Italian horror film, directed by Lamberto Bava. the son of the legendary Mario Bava, and produced by Dario Argento, like fucking legends ahead of this. And directed by Lamberto Bava, screenplay by Dario Argento, Lamberto Bava, Franco Ferrini, and Giordano Sacchetti. So, like, the incredible pedigree of Italian horror names that are in this, and starring David Knight, Nancy Brill, Coralina Cataldi Tassoni, and Asia Argento in her first role when she was 10 years old, and Dario Casalini. So the film is a sequel to the original Demons. Only this is what's really, really interesting is that in this one, the demon infestation occurs because one of the lead characters is watching a video is watching essentially a movie, a broadcast film about the events of the first film. And then one of the demons, and then the demon in that one then looks into the television, comes into and begins to infect people in real life. The infection spreads throughout the entire building. And yeah, like as Eugene would say, shit definitely gets real. So it's it's fascinating. You cannot deny the influence of Demons 2 when you go back and you watch, especially Demons or Demons 2, the influence on what we have today. Like the people, like the directors, it's influenced John Carpenter. It influenced like especially directors today like Fede Alvarez. You can see like definitely there was Evil Dead Rise took from this. There's a lot of elements you can see that got repeated in Evil Dead Rise, even up to today. So Demons 2, one of the more influential Italian horror films. Got a lot of fantastic stuff. Not to mention, I'm pretty certain, and I'm willing to throw this out there, that Tom Six, who directed Human Centipede, Human Centipede 2, and the third one, who directed that trilogy, that the meta idea of like the first film taking place and then the second film, the sequel, where the first film is actually a movie that's being watched in the sequel, and then the events occur in real life. That idea was lifted from to present the two movies that way was taken from this because of what Bava and Argento presented this story as. So the predominant thing about this one is, unlike the first film, where in the original Demons, the infection spreads and everything, there's a lot of plot elements that go into it. It's like what the demons are, where they come from, and like what is actually happening. Return of the Living Dead as well, absolutely. So the difference in this one is that the storyline itself is much more streamlined. They definitely did not waste too much time trying to explain shit. Just that the demons exist, and then and every time they like bite or they scratch somebody, they infect them, they turn into demons, and shit goes fucking haywire. That was pretty much all that was necessary. Also, what Bava and Argento did, which I found intriguing, was they did not feed the audience anything that they shouldn't have already known. They relied on you having watched the first film, which came out in 1985. It was only a year. So they relied on you watching the first one so you could take those details and move into the second one from. So they don't waste time with unnecessary exposition. They don't have to repeat themselves, which is something that American horror does a lot. We always have to retread ground in case somebody didn't watch the first film. One of the notorious ones for that are the J horror remakes, like Rings and fucking the Grudge 2, where we have to retread all the nonsense, give the origin story in another way, just to catch everybody up in case they didn't see the first ones. I like that Bava and Argento did not go in that direction, and they allowed the audience, go watch Demons, then watch this one. If you didn't watch Demons, don't worry. It stands alone, and it's good. And the kicker on this one, while I truly, truly I enjoyed this film, despite the lack of story elements, was because of the phenomenal effects. So that's what drives this movie, is the phenomenal practical effects that take place in this. Obviously, in a time when like animation and stuff like that was kind of primitive as far as like overlaying animation, very similar to what was it, like Hellraiser did, where the like sprite particle effects and shit. There's nothing like that in this film. Everything is practical. All the smoke, all the fire, all the demon stuff. And we all have kind of like the unknown Sergio Stivoletti to thank for that. And Stivoletti is the mind behind predominantly what I thought was his best contribution to the film was his skin and bladder effects, and of course all the hair effects, and not to mention the makeup and all the shit with the fang stuff, and of course like when the first chick is turning into a demon and she like opens her mouth and her normal teeth are being pushed out by like the fangs. it's shit like that, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. So going into Demons 2, it's all about the practical effects on this one and finding inventive ways to display or to showcase the gory and gloppy and disgusting and gross and like bile, spewing way that these, normal people turn into these monsters, and try the attempt to make them kind of unique, where even in the eye shine, like when the beautiful cinematography of that long shot down the hallway, and they're all like coming up, and all you see is the eye shine, they're kind of like, backlit, is just brilliant shit. And trying to give each demon its own kind of character while they all still kind of act animalistically, and then give them kind of like their unique looks, either like unique coloring or unique, like, the veins coming out in their face a certain way, or their claws look different. Try to like give some personality and character to each one of them, which is brilliant because it all comes down to the practical effects, which I thought were amazing. Oh, I see Jaloco is here. Good to see you, bud. Says sub JL. Cool show you got here. Thank you very much, Jaloco. I do appreciate that. And I think it's your first time here, so I appreciate you popping in. Thank you very, very much. So, but yeah, the creative and intriguing cinematography in this is all. The work of Sergio Stivoletti and the brilliant cinematography of Bava and how he shot things, his use of depth in throughout the film provides so much. I would say it provides so much information to the viewer and provides a very unique experience. Not to mention what's going on with all the individual characters. When you juxtapose like the pregnant chick being attacked by the little, I guess the guy's, I don't want to say he's the dwarf, but yeah, when Tommy turns into the fucking demon thing, and he's like, and he's like stuck in the door and he's chasing her around the apartment. You got that situation. Then you got the woman who's attacked by her dog that is mutated into a monster as well. And then you've got the gym rats, the bodybuilders who are holed up in the parking garage and they can't get out because apparently like the security system on this apartment complex is like fucking Fort Knox. So it's like this like steel shutters that come down. There's like a bank vault and they can't get out. So they're forced to like contend with the demons themselves and they all fucking die anyway. So, but it's glorious. It's so much fun. And I fucking loved my favorite. And I think he deserves some high mention is Bobby Rhodes, because Bobby Rhodes, who played Hank, who was like the gym leader, was fucking brilliant. And even dubbed, I think made it even better. Like if you watch the dubbed version of this, he was just fantastic because it's so fucking classic and stereotypical. It's a lot of fun. So, and this is what you get with Go for Broke. And this is why why we love Italian horror so much. Italian horror has always set the bar for never trying to do the same thing but do it differently, but always try to advance the art form. And there is a collective passion for horror. There still is, I believe, because you have like Argento and you have Bava and you have fucking loot. I forgot space on his name. Blah blah blah. But with the collective identity of these individuals all working together to progress the horror genre, that's what's kind of missing from American cinema. And it was because of the willingness to work together. Because Argento's got his own films, and then Bava's got his. So when you look, Fulci, I was gonna say Lucio Fulci, but when these directors are willing to like put their own visions aside and work together for the collective good, then we get movies that always try to advance and become innovative as to what we're trying to accomplish, not trying necessarily to one up one another and say we can do what you did but do it better, but always trying to do something more and bring more to the table. There is a willingness to work together, a more, I would say, cohesive community in the Italian horror filmmaking community that I think American filmmakers could take a lesson from, which is why I think it's so important to give Italian horror its due, because they always try to do better and go one step further, whether it's gorier or it's, more intriguing cinematography or more interesting lighting or, use of depth or use of sound or something to like add to it and get progressively more. And this all started with fucking, with Kaltiki. It all goes back to that. And how we work together, for the common good, which is something I think we miss a lot. Aaron Reese says, sadly, Italian horror lost a bit of positive momentum after the zombie films. They dropped artistry for poor effects. I will agree that the zombie films were Zombie 2 and so on and so forth. It was the zombie films and the cannibal films because that was where you could go the most extreme. And because of the extreme nature of these things, because you're going to have a point where you get so hardcore that you're going to start putting people off. Even though, unless they're like really diehard gore hounds, like really, like we're talking like Cannibal Ferox and shit. So there's going to be a point where you're going to get a drop off, where you start making movies. You become so extreme, you make movies for like a niche audience, and you're not going to make a lot of money off of that. So you've got to kind of pull back. So there is a loss of momentum there, but at least how they got there, I think, was honest and was creatively minded. You don't see these guys stabbing each other in the back. You see them giving each other opportunities to try and make something really, really excellent and try to advance the industry as best they can. Because if, we're all working to advance the industry, then we all have opportunities, then, we will never be out of work, which I think is brilliant. Nobody gets shut down. Everybody gets to work together, which I think was what makes it so much fun. And Demons 2 is particularly fun, not just because it's an amazing score, like an amazing soundtrack, or the incredible work of Lamberto Bava, who was willing to set his vision aside from the first one and take a lot of input from Sergio Stivoletti, who had influence in the in parts of the script itself. So let's convey it this way so that we can do this and do this really, really interesting stuff that they have. So that's the beauty. That's why films like this turn out as well, and they stand the test of time as far as what they bring to the horror genre. So if you haven't seen Demons and you've got a strong stomach, because there's some pretty gross out moments in this, like when the little flying demon shit, like the fucking ghouly looking motherfucker kind of like rips out of the kid and like flies around shit. There's stuff like that. And of course, the transformation of people into demons is pretty grotesque, whether it's, like their fingernails coming off and claws coming out, or their teeth falling out and replaced by fangs, or all the what I love is the bladder effects, where you take the layer of skin and you have the bladders laid in, and then you kind of like inflate them and deflate them so it looks like their veins are pulsing in their body, whether it's in their face or in their arm shit. Brilliant fucking stuff. And with the right lighting, the fact that each area had its own kind of ambiance, whether it was in a particular apartment, or whether it was down in the parking garage, or whether it was in the gym itself, or whatever. I love that they were willing to go there and create new things every single time to keep it engaging. That way you don't wind up in the slog, which I think is one thing that hurt Evil Dead Rise, is because the entire film had one image, had like kind of like one ambiance, and then once it shifted, once the evil was out and the Deadites started taking over, the entire building shifted and it never got out of that. So we feel like we're in the pit every single time, which is why it's so important to convey in different scenes with your lighting, because when you're like with Evil Dead Rise, you definitely get the feeling about 3/4 of the way through that nobody's getting out of this, that this is going to end badly, no matter what. It's like, this is going to be, because you're in the pit for so long, you kind of drag the audience down and you kind of like divest them of their optimism, Whereas in this one, you got a different environment from the dog scene to the kid scene to the parking garage scene to the party upstairs. The way it's conveyed is that there is so many different, I would say tonal, like I say energy. There's a different energy and different tones going on that you never really know specifically what's going to happen. Even though in the end they all get fucking like killed, except for like the hero and his girlfriend, hero and his pregnant girlfriend. So, but like I said, that's the kind of filmmaking that I think that gets lost in the zeal for formulaic filmmaking that Americans have come to expect. So more love for Italian horror, absolutely more love, which is why it's so important to not forget that it's there. And going back and watching this, you'll see how deeply it influenced, the things that we have today. Is like, the ideas. You'll say like, holy shit, fucking Ari Aster pulled that idea from this film, or something something along the lines, or Fede Alvarez like completely pulled that cinematography. Like he framed that shot just like fucking Bava did. It's so influential. You can't discount it for what it brings to the table. Absolutely. So Demons 2, fucking amazing work. And you cannot, because we talk about Rob Bottin and we talk about Stan Winston and all the great names, all the legendary names in special effects, but Sergio Stivoletti, the amazing work that he did on this and what he continued to do, magnificent. Chef's kiss. Absolute chef's kiss. And it's a fucking boatload of fun. It really, really is. But the question is, the one thing that really separated Demons and Demons 2 was story elements and the kind of meta aspect of Demons 2. So there was more story elements, deeper story elements in Demons, and then there was less because then you had like the old man coming in, you had like the freaky dude with the fucking reel. It's like, I'm gonna play this reel and turn everybody in the theater into demons. And then it's post-apocalyptic outside, and then the final girl, she turns into a demon and dies, and it's an uncertain future. Totally different tone compared to this one because of all those deep and rich story elements. But in this one, it's high octane, super fun, never lets up, totally unexpected. What's going to happen next? Very, you can see Peter Jackson took elements from this, in Dead Alive, and you see all the influence there. It's really fantastic stuff. So two kind of completely different films. So the question then is, and I want to ask y'all, is which one did you prefer? Did you prefer the original Demons with its deeper and richer storytelling? And still solid practical effects, but more on conveying something that actually was more in line with what was going on at the time. Because we talked about Demons before and how it was very much a reflection of the degradation of what was basically the breakdown that was occurring in Europe at the time. The idea of the resistance generation taking on the conformist generation that came before it, and it was reflected, in part by what was going on with the Berlin Wall at the time. So Demons has its own kind of cultural import. So it has a lot to offer in that respect, whereas Demons 2 ran full on into the sequel idea, bigger, badder, nastier, gorier, disgusting, and a hell of a lot of fun. Which one did you prefer? Demons 1 or Demons 2? Let us know down in the comments below, of course, at weekinhorror@gmail.com. And I see Johnny O, who has been a member of a member of the Army of the Dead for a month. Thank you so much, bud. We do appreciate that. And I apologize. I don't have I hit my mic. I don't have the live chat up. I probably should bring that up because I don't know if anybody's gifted any memberships. Oh, shut up, me. I tried to, you bring up the video and the volume just automatically goes up. So I want to see if anybody gifts. Yes, I knew it. Sarcasm. Thank you so much for gifting 5 Week in Horror memberships. 5 new members of the Army of the Dead. Thank you so much, Sarcasm. We do appreciate that support because you can support the channel here. If Patreon is not your cup of tea, you can support us by becoming a member of the Army of the Dead for 99 cents a month. That's for channel memberships. You get access to emojis and channel badges and all kinds of stuff. So if you'd like to support the channel, you can do it that way. We do appreciate that support very, very much. And thank you, Sarcasm, for that generous donated 5 channel memberships. So enjoy those very, very much. Thank you. I thought I saw Regular Jeff is here. Good to see you, Regular Jeff. Thanks so much for being here. Apparently we're 58 subs away from 1,000, which is awesome. And Sarcasm has been a member of the Army of the Dead for 1 month. Thank you so much, Sarcasm. We do appreciate that. Thank you. You rock. We appreciate all that support big time. Absolutely do. All right. Aaron Reese says, if you're on Chrome, you can mute the tab before opening the stream. Yeah, but then I need a third monitor is what I need. I need a third monitor. I'll work here, script here, resources here. Otherwise, because I'm my phone, just turn my phone into, I need that on a screen so I can keep an eye on shit and see what's going on. Sumi says, thanks, JL, for the intro to these other movies. Got to go. Thanks again for the gift of membership, Sarcasm. Thank you, Sumi. Thanks so much for popping in. And we hope to see you in the future. Because remember, next week, season finale. And then season 5 begins. So exciting. So thank you so much for being here, bud. We do appreciate it. Let's move on to our second film. And this one, little on the extreme side. We'll give it that. Not as far as gore goes, but I think thematically. You don't need no stinking script. I do need a stinking script. I absolutely do. Insane Angel, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Do appreciate it. I need a first brain. Ha, ha, ha. You're very fucking funny. Let's jump into our second film. Released September 11th, 2012. We have the Spanish horror, Here Comes the Devil. Let's check out this trailer. Cue up that terror tube. I love the terror tube.
Los niños quieren ir al cerro de aquel lado. En una hora los quiero de regreso aquí.
Such an intriguing little film.
Adolfo! Sarah! 'Cause I don't want to die! 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 'Cause I
que les haya pasado algo malo.
The kids aren't all right.
¿Qué pasó la otra noche? ¿Había alguien en el cerro?
¿Qué es?
Hay algo malo que está pasando con ellos. Era el diablo. El diablo se posó en mi pecho. My mother's helper, she had herself a baby. Didn't mean to drown it in the bath.
Yeah, there's some intensity in this one.
He took himself loving. I didn't mean to bury in my bed.
Yes, so that was the trailer for Here Comes the Devil. Here Comes the Devil, which was a Mexican horror film that was directed and written by Adrian Garcia Bogliano and starring Lara Caro, Francisco Barrero, and Michelle Garcia. So the film follows a family that, the film kicks off with this serial killer who attacks a lesbian couple in their home and then kills one but then is himself mortally wounded, and he runs off into the hills and he disappears and never seen again. Fast forward several years later, a family is vacationing in the same area, and the kids, the son and the daughter of the family, are kind of like exploring off in the hills while mom and dad are off doing adult things. And while they're exploring, they enter into this cave and then they disappear. But later they're found and they're not acting right. Things become increasingly suspicious. And so from trying to figure out what happened to their kids and the inadvertent killing of someone they think harmed them, the truth is eventually revealed that something very, very sinister is going on. Something very evil is out there in those hills. And, it's got it out for everybody. So it's a brutal and very unflinching film. I'll give it that. I wouldn't say, because it doesn't leave anything, I would say it doesn't leave anything to the imagination. And I think what I really thoroughly enjoyed about Here Comes the Devil, particularly, the writing was decent, and what they were conveying are pretty basic ideas. And as far as like logical, conclusions, as far as like the unraveling mystery, as the mother, as Soul, is played effortlessly by Lara Caro. She knocked it out of the park as the independent, strong but distraught mother. I loved what she brought to the role, the energy she brought in, especially towards the end of the third act, when she finally figures out what the hell is going on and she knows it's fucking insane. So, and how she's going to deal with it, it's just fucking brilliant. But while the writing was strong enough and conveyed it very well without jumping the shark too much, and no weird logical leaps, what I absolutely thoroughly loved about this one was how fucking human the whole production felt. Is that it did not feel polished at all. And I'm not talking in a technical way. It was extremely well done, well edited, well cut, and extremely well shot. I loved the movement in between the tight, claustrophobic moments, whether they were intimate or whether they were terrifying, and these wide open shots that really convey Mexico for the beautiful place that it is. And but the understanding that there are dark places, even in magnificent, beautiful places, there are shadows. And I love that idea that in those dark places, we cannot be lured into the false sense of security that we're always safe, which I think conveys Mexico brilliantly, the way only those that call it home can really convey it. So artistically, it's just spectacularly shot and spectacularly well done thematically. And I loved how human how human everyone was. There is no polished up or, I would say almost plastic presentation of the people here. The people that are conveyed in this are intensely real. They're very real. They are, you can see their fears played out before them. Yeah, and I love the humanistic aspect that was brought to this, which grounded it for me, which I thought was fantastic. The performances were strong across the board and felt the scenes that are supposed to be like kind of improv, where the characters are kind of like reacting off instinct, they come off extremely well. The creepiness of the kids when they're finally found and realize that there's something very, very wrong with these children, and then of course what's going on deep in that cave and what happened there, the evil that is the pervasive evil that is present there. I love it. There's a lot of intensity, and I would say intense intimacy in these moments. There's nothing cleaned up or polished about these things. They're not presented to the audience in a kind of sanitized way, or I would say like a movie way. Everything feels very, very real, which I think is the one thing that works so well for this film. Even though the plot kind of just is kind of formulaic in that respect. Children, like there's an evil out there, children disappear, they come back strange, very changeling child, very, with the like hole in the ground, kid disappears, comes back, is obviously different. But yeah, and then of course, then the way it ends up, it's to be expected. It's a little formulaic on that, but what sells this one is the cinematography and the acting. Fuck, the acting was so goddamn good. Sarcasm says, please give some love to Magnet. They released some really good low-budget films. Time Crimes is my second favorite time travel film release. Fuck yes, Time Crimes was amazing, and Magnet does a lot of really, 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 really great stuff. As a matter of fact, if you're an action film lover, like the Tony Jaa films, Magnet was behind a bunch of Tony Jaa's films as well. His amazing stuff, like Ong Bak and shit like that. Let's see, Zero says, I don't remember the plot all that well, but I remember what's in the cave. Right. So that's the big thing on this one. I think the thing that really comes across, it's an extraordinarily creepy and unsettling. It almost gives the audience a sense of like voyeurism, like looking in on people's intimate moments, which creates a kind of, not everybody is of that mindset. So you get the idea that it's not like looking at like commercialized intimacy that you see so often. It's like looking at real people going to this, which sets the tone for the whole film. Seeing people at their worst, or like going through their worst moments, and you feel like a spectator to that. And it's like, so there's almost that kind of repulsion you feel, and especially in the way it's shot with these really long and protracted close-ups to really convey the micro expressions of what's going on, from the intimate scene in the bedroom at the very, very beginning of the film to the intimate scene in the car to what was going on post the murder of the guy that they thought attacked their children. The way intimacy comes out of these tragic moments is just really unsettling, but also very relatable, because we can see the love and how the irrationality of their love informs their response to this, which is just in the writing and in the acting. I thought it was fantastic. The cinematography also sells it extraordinarily well. It's wonderfully shot, beautifully done. Thematically, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, watching your children. It's the cautionary tale of that. Be aware, just, don't fall into the false sense of security that things are safe. Just because things appear safe doesn't mean that they always are. And evil can always be lurking in even the smallest or the darkest places that you might tend to ignore. There's all these little kind of cautionary tales that go through there, but that's serviceable. It's for the horror genre. It's what the horror genre is built upon. But this one I thought was a nice little standout, a nice little fun film that plays with your emotions, and that's what drives the film itself. It didn't get a huge kind of let's see. So horror brings out your inner freaky. It definitely can. Insane Angel, it does. Colin Definitely Not Cromwell says, hey, everyone, good to see you, bud. Thank you, Colin, for being here. And Jefferson Spatchcock says, Nacho Vigalondo also wrote and directed Colossal, an underrated flick. Not horror, but a good movie. Agreed. Absolutely. So, but in this particular one, I wouldn't say that it's extreme to the point that it requires a kind of stomach, but this is definitely, it's more than what a lot of critics thought it was. At least I took away a lot more. Because a lot of critics were pretty much like, it's like, it's demons, it's murder, it's female nudity, it's TNA, and it's like violent stabbings, and, it's basic and as simple as that. I don't think it is. I think what's being conveyed here is a fantastic story, very Stephen King-esque, very, I would say very Stephen King-esque, very Dean Koontz-esque, about normal everyday people encountering the absolutely unexpected and extraordinary, or what these people do in reaction to extreme and extraordinary events, which I thought it harkened back to the kind of like the young me that enjoyed stories about normal people encountering horrific stuff, which is the heart of King, the heart of Koontz. Hey, Tony Regime, good to see you, bud. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it. And yes, just looked up the director of Here Comes the Devil to see that he directed Late Phases. Absolutely, he did. He's a very talented director. And you see the elements of that. And I'm glad you brought that up, Jefferson. You see the elements in Late Phases. The most endearing part of that movie was the relationship between Nick D'Amici's father and Ethan Embry playing his son. Was a driving force in that. Was the dissonance between how he lived his life and how he treated his son, and the fact that he was aware that he should not have, but he was aware that he also did not know any other way to be. That he could only be intimate with himself and address these inner things when he was alone. And then you juxtapose that against the enemy, the external enemy that he's always fearful of, which drove him to be the way he is. And then he turns that against the werewolves that are in the community. I love that. I loved how human Nick and Ethan were, how human the residents around him were, especially Tom Noonan. Tom Noonan was fantastic in that. The preacher at the kind of like everybody's kind of at the end, and the preacher just trying to reconcile the life that he's lived and the things he's seen with what he hopes is true. The same thing kind of goes for Nick D'Amici's character. And so the embracing of that which is human, that which is not slick and stylized and polished, but humanity warts and all. And then juxtaposing that against something extraordinary and extreme that would be so rare you'd never expect to encounter it, made Late Phases one of my top 3 werewolf films. I love those themes where the humanity is really brought out. And he does that excellently here in Here Comes the Devil. Or Ahí va el Diablo. So, Land's Guest was great too. Yep. Sad, but also kind of scary. Agreed. I fucking love Late Phases. That movie was fantastic. We talked about that before on the show. I think that was back in season 2 when we talked about Late Phases. But Here Comes the Devil will probably, for its more graphic nature, for its graphic violence and its graphic depiction of I would say of human intimacy, like TNA and sex and fucking. Thank you, Juliet Lewis. But yeah, for those kind of graphic depictions, it may put some people off. But I would say if you do watch it and you kind of like you feel the need to pull back because of that almost voyeuristic sense that's what's going on, like looking at real people doing this, like you're looking through their bedroom window, or you're like in there. I would say push through that, because what you will gain from that is a very, very human experience that I think more people can relate to. And I think that makes this film a lot more relatable than people were willing, because I think they saw the gratuity that was on play before them, and they missed the depth, because it's all there written all over the actors' faces. Wonderfully lit, wonderfully shot, beautiful, moments that are just excellently caught. So I really enjoyed this one a hell of a lot more than I thought it was, than I thought I would. Really excellent stuff. But of course, like I said, there is a bit of ambiguity to it. There's an air of ambiguity through most of the film until you get into about like the final 10 minutes when it's revealed that the kids are actually still in the cave. They never actually left. That what they've been dealing with has been these kind of entities. And then of course, the violence that takes place in the cave, the explosive violence takes place there. And then of course the ending where, the parents get into the car and then he's driving the car like it's the first time. Call back to when he was teaching the son to drive. So that these entities are there, and they look for bodies to jump into and then go out and sow chaos in the world. And so, but there's a level of ambiguity that I think put some people off, that we kind of almost had to wait too long to really get some hints, because they really don't take place till the third act. And I think that was problematic for some people. But the question that I want to ask y'all, I want to ask the audience is, the ambiguity in this film, kind of putting things off, the slow burn to the third act, was it too much? Do you think it drags the film down, or do you think it was just enough? Because I'm kind of curious where people fall on this spectrum, because it seems to be critically, people were divided. It's like, oh man, like the slow burn and sitting with these people was almost like it for some people became almost unbearable. It wasn't for me. I wanted to see what was going to happen with these individuals, so I think it was just enough. But some people might think it was a little too much, and it was a little too much of a slog. So let me know down in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com if you thought Here Comes the Devil, the ambiguity, the ambiguous nature of the story, was it just too ambiguous? It dragged it down? Should have gotten to, like, you know, the hints and the harder hitting shit a little bit faster, or was it just enough? Perfect for the story it was trying to tell. I'm very curious. Let me know down in the comments below. I see that we have gotten through 2 films already, and Eugene is still not here. I do want to give a huge thank you to NANA for the gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much, NANA. You rock. Do appreciate that. Not for the Haneke fans. Hello. That's funny, Zero. But yeah, thank you very much, NANA. I do appreciate NANA. I do appreciate that. Anybody else been dealing with their fucking allergies? You can hear it. You can hear it in my nose. It's awful. Absolutely. Still getting over a cough. I was laid out for like for almost 3 days. I was like, I was just done. You know, it was just bad. It just hit me all of a sudden. Seasonal change just hit me. Yeah, Eugene still hasn't gotten here yet. I don't know where he's at, but that's okay. We still got some time. Still got a little bit of time. Oh yeah, Charlie Welch. I did hear about that. That's a bummer. That's rough. Hopefully you get over it quick. Late summer. Yep. Oh, the ragweed and the pollen just kick your fucking ass. Talk about a horror show. All right. Let's say we move on to our 3rd film, which is a little bit different. Hey, Out for Blood 832. Good to see you. It says each day I have at least 7 scheduled sneezes. So yes. Also, hello. Good to see you, Out for Blood. Thanks so much for being here, and I do appreciate that. Spank him. I love it, Casey Cooper. Why does Eugene? I don't know, Zero. Why does Eugene hate us? Why does Eugene hate us? I have no idea. Why does he hate him? Wash off your hate. Ivy Gentry says, if Eugene doesn't get here before the last movie, shit will get real. Absolutely. Absolutely. Aaron, why don't you go find out where Eugene is? I'm kind of curious where the hell he is. Where is he at? Yeah, Eugene will get here and then shit will finally get real. Great. Possible, regular Jeff. Totally possible. But let's jump into our 3rd film. Let's see what we got. We released September 12th, 2006. It's just the trees raping your nose. So true, Roden. So true. September 12th, 2006, we have the anthology film Trapped Ashes. Very weird anthology film. Cue up the terror tube.
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear anything.
Listen, you smell
Came from
that?
up there.
Nothing there.
I think someone's trapped us in here.
Fucking Henry Gibson, love it.
4 stories of terror. 5 renowned Hollywood directors. Written by Dennis Bartok. 1 terrifying anthology of horror.
You're a wildcat, girl.
Yeah!
We're never going to get out of here.
Trapped Ashes.
Yes, so that was the trailer for Trapped Ashes, which was an anthology film, came out 2006, directed by predominantly Sean S. Cunningham, Joe Dante, Monte Hellman, Ken Russell, and John Gaeta, and written by Dennis Bartok, and starring a host of individuals you may recognize. So we got Jace Bartok, Amelia Cook, Laura Harris, the lovely Laura Harris, Ryo Ishibashi, Scott Lowell, Luke McFarlane, Temo Pennicott, Tu Runyon, Rachel Veltri, John Saxon, and the legendary Henry Gibson, who was the guy you saw, the kind of like nebbish little dude who's there at the very beginning. Legendary, fucking like laughing and all the shit that he did. Oh, the Burbs. Yes, he was in the Burbs. So, but yeah. So as far as the anthology goes, the framing narrative itself is the wraparound, which is directed by Joe Dante, which is in that the 7 strangers are visiting a Hollywood movie studio for a tour, for like a 45-minute tour, and they wind up getting locked into the infamous House of Horror by Desmond, their tour guide, played by Henry Gibson. And in order to try and leave, they have to tell their most terrifying stories, which leads us to the four like little shorts we have, which is The Girl with the Golden Breast, directed by Ken Russell; Jabaku, directed by Sean S. Cunningham. You remember him from Friday the 13th. Stanley's Girlfriend, directed by Monty Hellman; and My Twin the Worm, directed by John Gaeta, who you probably know for his work in the Matrix film trilogy. And he was the guy who came up with fucking Bullet Time. So, what then proceeds is a host of violence, gratuitous sex, lots of nudity, some gross body horror, anime, and stuff. It's weird. I thought Sean S. Cunningham's choices like that, but where to break these things down is it's very, very oddball, but I would say ultimately kind of fun. It's an oddball anthology because you've got like this, hey, historical philosopher, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Do appreciate it. And I think I saw someone else real quick. I saw Sherry Tilley. Good to see you, Sherry. Thanks so much for being here tonight. You did make it before Eugene. You absolutely did. Insane Angel, who's right. Who can say no to boobs? Your very first story was just literally all about boobs, about the chick with the vampiric titties. So, like I said, you've got a chick with you got four very oddball stories. You've got the odd kind of like the wraparound story where these goofy characters, these kind of like stereotypical characters, are all like sniping at each other and doing the whole thing. Then they tell the stories. You got the chick with the Rachel Veltri, who's got these vampiric titties. These titties that turn into like blood-sucking parasites after a breast after like a breast augmentation surgery, and then like the whole sequence with the doctors, they all had it was beyond weird. And then you've got like the girl with the golden. Oh, you got Jabaku, which was Sean S. Cunningham, which is so odd because it's set in Japan, so it's wonderfully shot, and I really love what they brought with what Sean Cunningham brought to it. But then you have like the whole anime segment, as though to try and avoid having to do the practical effects because it was so low budget, which I get it entirely. But when you have like the body horror that takes place in My Twin the Worm with the whole tapeworm shit, which that was a bunch of animation as well, but there was a lot of gross nastiness in there. It's like weird. And so Aaron, it has to have I can't imagine porn neglecting to mimic bullet time. Absolutely. Thank you, Sarcasm, for the super chat for $2. Thank you so much, Sarcasm. He says, first, you absolutely were first. Thank you very much, Sarcasm. Do appreciate that support. Really, really do. That's amazing. If anybody shot a money shot Matrix style. Yeah. Insane Angel says, my dream is to die by vampiric boobies. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so absurd. But yeah, the one thing that I dug, despite the weirdness of it, each one of the stories does kind of bring something intriguing. You have the body horror in the girl with the golden breasts, with her titties turning into like her nipples are like the mouths, and they turn to like these vampiric creatures. And then you've got Jabaku, which is this has the anime sequence, which is really, really kind of weird, which kind of off-putting. In my eyes, was kind of off-putting. Juxtaposed against the really nasty of like necrophilia, like she's like banging a corpse and like sticking her fingers and shit. He's all kind of like still juicy and stuff. So that's kind of like grotesque in that respect, because those practical effects were really well done, and that was just that was like ooky. But then you have the very kind of like I want to say it's demure, but it's a lower energy, more of a slow burn of Stanley's Girlfriend. I thought Monty Hellman did really, really well with the segment because he did. You remember him from Beast from Haunted Cave back in 1959. He worked a lot with a lot of influence from Roger Corman, and you can see that in the storytelling and the way Stanley's Girlfriend was shot. Because I loved the set in the film industry, and I love the idea of the classic way, like the almost classic old school, like 8mm way. The witch stuff, like was displayed. I thought that one was creatively presented the best as far as like technical capacity, even though Timo Pennicott is, he's kind of like shovel faced. He's not really there. He's very, very wooden. That's just my opinion. I think he's always just kind of like wooden in his delivery. You remember him from Trick or Treat? He was the boyfriend at the beginning, who was warning Leslie Bibb. So, but yeah, he can get the job done, I guess. He's serviceable. But I loved the interactions between Amelia Cook and Ty Runyon. I thought that the two of them were really, really good. And the way that the story was conveyed harkened a lot back to Masters of Horror. It had that kind of like technical feel to it, which I thought was really, really good, really well done. And in almost kind of like neo-noir sense, juxtaposed against like old, like golden era Hollywood. I thought was really good. That one was smartly done. Then you have like John Gaeta, who did My Twin the Worm, which I felt was a little all over the place, but ultimately delivers some decent body horror and some, it turns into some like really freaky because she's like compelled to continue feeding this tapeworm because it's her twin. They like came up together in the womb. It's fucking weird and absurd. But the thing that sells it, the thing that I really, really dug this one, despite the experimentation with its visuals being so low budget and trying to do the most they could with as little money as they could. What I really loved about the whole film was the sum up at the end. So Henry Gibson playing Desmond is actually not a tour guide. He's actually, this legendary director that disappeared and, under like, strange circumstances. And he's brought them all to the site of his most infamous film. And he's basically trapped them. But what it's alluding to is that Desmond is actually this character is actually like, he's bringing condemned souls to hell because they can never leave the house. And so that's what he's doing. And he's kind of like, they're telling their stories, which is their confessionals. And then he's condemning them in because they can't escape anymore. So they're trapped. That's why they're trapped. They're dead. And that's why they're ashes and they are trapped because they can never leave the house. Wordplay. But what I loved is the sum up that Henry Gibson walks through as he reveals the information that each one of the storytellers did not reveal. That he brings up like why you're actually here and why you can't leave and what the fact that you're not just lying to everybody else but you're lying to yourselves. That harkens back to many horror films that Vincent Price did, and I loved that energy. So when Dennis Bartok was writing this out, and that denouement was very Vincent Price. It felt very Vincent Price because at the end of virtually every Vincent Price horror film, Vincent Price is given the opportunity to kind of break down like what was going, like the morals to be learned here, and he always delivered it so wonderfully. No matter what, like in The Fly, when he gives a breakdown as to like what, like the relationship between man and science, or if you look like the Monster Club, breaking down like what constitutes a monster and how humanity is often more monstrous than the monsters that are around them. And so I love how that felt very Vincent Price, very, very inspired. Bartok took a lot from the golden age of Hollywood from 30s and 40s, and that informed that informed the script. And I loved how Joe Dante, who directed the wraparound, you remember Joe Dante from Gremlins and such, directed the wraparound, and then Monty Hellman really took that to heart, and they played into that, which I thought made it really, really good. And so the third act saves this film in my eyes, is the acting of Henry Gibson, the legendary Henry Gibson, and then of course what it was conveying at the time and the inspiration that it took from, which was old school Hollywood, just old school horror, which I really fucking loved. Apparently he's on his way. Eugene is on his way. Case Cooper said his name 3 times, so maybe he will appear. Fingers crossed. Regular Jeff says, I have 3 In Search of Darkness documentaries. There was a body horror movie covered. I'll actually have to look up again. A few, if I remember correctly. Definitely. In Search of Darkness is a really good documentary. I really love that. It was a good series. Henry Gibson should have been carrying a flower. I like that, Casey Cooper. Very much. I like that. Yeah, all 5. I would say the 4 stories had a huge ew factor. Whether it's like titties, blood sucking titties, or like necrophilia, like graphic necrophilia. Stanley with the blood drinking witch, who drinks her lover's blood to gain immortality, and then the tapeworm living alongside the fetuses they're developing in the mother. There's a big ew factor in all of them. Absolutely. It was beauty that killed the beast. Yes, classic golden age Hollywood. Absolutely love it. That's what I love, the energy of this one. It felt very old school, and I like what Bartok delivered in this one. And of course, everyone in there, played their parts to a T, whether they were kind of like 2-dimensional or 1-dimensional. This is not really one you go for like the depth of the acting, but you go for like how are they going to convey these stories, which is why I love anthologies. We don't have to get mired down in exposition. We can just get right to the heart of the issues. Like, bam, we're in there. And let's just, pack in as much weird shit as we possibly can. So of all the anthologies that really don't work because the framing narrative fails them, or because there's so much disparity between each one of the stories, kind of like, one that we recently talked about, which was Nightmare Radio, which had a lot of those problems. Trapped Ashes works on a level of, I would say, of creative honesty. It doesn't try to be anything more than it is, and it doesn't try to push boundaries to the point that it becomes incoherent. It's a fun little romp, a little popcorn film that if you've got the stomach to tolerate, Peter Jackson style, maybe even some Tom Six Human Centipede style, not the second one, the first one. So if you can deal with that, then I think you could have a lot of fun with this one. I would say, Peter Jackson, very Dead Alive style, in that kind of take. And I love what Dante and Gaeta and, and Monty Hellman brought to these ones. So they're a lot of fun. But that leaves the question that I want to ask the audience. Which of the stories, because I told you what mine was, which one of the stories that took place in Trapped Ashes was your favorite? Because technically there are 5. You've got the wraparound with Henry Gibson as Desmond, the tour guide. Then you got the girl with the golden breasts, which was the breast implants made of reconstituted human corpse that turned into like parasites and shit, that crave blood. You've got Jibaku, which was the Japanese-based story about the woman falling in love, or a woman being drawn by a spirit into hell. Then you got Stanley's Girlfriend, which is about the blood-drinking witch seeking immortality. And then you got My Twin the Worm, which is about the Natalie Martine, who is Natalie being brought up with a tapeworm at the same time as when she was developing in her mother. So, and then like being attached to it, that said. So, which one did you think was the better of the 5? Which one was your favorite of the 5 stories in Trapped Ashes? Which one did you think was the best? Me personally, I honestly have to side with Stanley's Girlfriend. I thought that one was the best one, the best conveyed story, and the best and the most well shot. And I loved the third act. I love the end of the wraparound, but I really love Stanley's Girlfriend. But let me know down in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com what you think the best entry in Trapped Ashes was. Which one was your favorite, or which one did you think was the best? Travis Brown says, never seen it, so no comment. Well, you should have seen it before we started, bud. That's the whole point. It's the whole reason I put those posters on the YouTube community section. So you know what we're going to talk about. Sir Cab says, honestly, I thought they were all kind of meh, but the effects were well done. It felt like a showcase for the FX crews. Oh, I can see that. I can definitely see that. Regular Jeff said, pre-order the credit. Okay, gotcha. You were talking to Aaron Reese. Aaron says, anthologies have the virtue of being able to keep the audience in suspense just long enough to execute a twist without boring them, just like short stories. Agreed. Very, very much so. I agree with that. Well, I see Eugene has still not arrived. Still not here. I thought you said he was on his way. Is he on his way? Because we've arrived, and I've given us plenty of time to get into this one. He's killing me. I see him there. He should be popping in. He's got the link. Okay, well, hopefully he'll pop in, because we still got to get to the start of it. Anyway, what am I, Italian now? We have arrived, released September 14th, 2018, and we have the very excellent Nic Cage horror film, Panos Cosmatos, Mandy. Let's check this out. Let's check out this trailer. Cue it. This is what the Terror Tube was made for, baby.
Under the crimson, primordial sky, the wretched warlock reached into the dark embrace. His fist closed around the serpent's eye. Strange and eternal.
I need you to get me that girl I saw. Do you know what to do? You're a special one, Mandy. I, too, am a special one. Let us be so very special together.
So what you gonna do with that thing?
I'm going hunting.
So what you hunting?
It's crazy evil. You think you're so in love? I'll show you love.
Oh, man. Very wrong with you. You exude the cosmic darkness.
It glowed from within, strange and eternal.
Fuck yes, that was the trailer for Mandy. Ah, yes. Oh man. Oh fuck. I've been waiting to talk about this film for quite some time. So, before we dive into it, because there's a bunch of stuff that we're going to chat about, and I definitely want to hear from you guys on this. But Mandy, directed by written and directed by Panos Cosmatos, sorry, and also written by Aaron Stewart on, and starring Nicolas Cage, Andrea Riseborough, Linus Roach, Ned Dennehy, Olwen Fury, Richard Brake, the legendary Richard Brake. You should remember him from like zombies films and everything. And of course, Bill Duke, you remember from Predator. The story follows Red and Mandy, who are living their idyllic life out in the middle of the Pacific Northwest, the middle of nowhere. When, unfortunately, one night they are beset upon by a cult of individuals called the Children of the Dawn, who invariably which would invariably result in Mandy's tragic death. From that point on, Red goes on a mind-breaking, psychedelic, revenge riff of blood and destruction towards the end, towards the final climactic end, and it is I will say it is an absolutely brilliant piece of filmmaking. Wonderfully done. For those who have not seen it, you definitely need to see it as soon as you can. We've actually shown it in the Discord during our watch parties a number of times. But man, so like the honesty is like where to begin. The movie in itself is a feast for the eyes as well as for the mind. The first thing we can dive into before we dive into the deeper elements and we start peeling this onion is that the things that make Mandy fantastic, why this is this seminal filmmaking, why nobody should ever miss this movie. And that is because it features so many fantastic elements from the cinematography of Panos Cosmatos and his direction as well. The man's mastery of color, sound, and I would say light in general, and the way he frames everything. Each shot is, I would say, is almost Kubrick in its stylization. That everything is intended, so everything you're seeing, it's all meant to be there because everything has something behind it. So there is depth to everything that you're seeing, and there's definitely, I say that Panos has a real love for that kind of like 70s inspiration, almost that almost late 60s, early 70s kind of psychedelic and long exposure and a lot of deep colors, deep reds, deep blues, deep greens, and how everything is conveyed. Everything in environments conveys something about what's going on. So there's information being transposed everywhere and in everything that you're seeing. Not to mention the composer for the film, Jóhann Jóhannsson, who maybe a lot of people will remember that name, but he was an Icelandic composer who unfortunately passed away before. I think he passed away in February of 2018, so we didn't even get to see the film come out. It was the last film that he ever scored, one of them, and his blend of traditional orchestration with contemporary electronic elements, all those incredible guitar riffs that you hear throughout there is just that's him. That's like his trademark. So brilliantly done stuff. Not to mention that the film was put up by Spectrovision, which was really establishing itself as kind of the go-to for, I would say, as like a new A24 in respect to what they were, the projects they were trying to do would take on really new and challenging and groundbreaking productions, which Mandy definitely was, embracing new visions for storytelling, which is the whole reason why Elijah Wood is one of the producers on the film, because Spectrovision was supposed to be amazing. Unfortunately, fucking Richard Stanley really derailed that shit with his behavior after Color Out of Space, which is why Spectrovision was kind of derailed on that respect, which was really fucking annoying. So, because they were doing some amazing stuff. Annie, thank you so much for the super chat. Says 666, the perfect super chat. Says the scariest part is that Nic Cage keeps getting roles. Nic Cage is amazing, and he's amazing in this one. Yes, he's taken some weird ones, but this movie was fun. This movie is definitely an exception. It's fucking awesome. But from the sound, from the composition to the cinematography to lighting to the direction to the way characters are conveyed to the very things that they're saying in the script, the way everything is conveyed, what makes this amazing, not just to look at and to hear, but also what is being said and what the different archetypes that are being conveyed. So many elements went into conveying these individuals. Like, for one, we're hinted at that the entire setting of the film is post-Vietnam War, because Red is definitely set up as a Vietnam vet. And then you've got Jeremiah, who's the leader of the Children of the Dawn, who is this failed musician turned cult leader, a la Manson style. So there's elements of the 70s for all of us. Not to mention the music, not to mention the film grain, not to mention the coloring. The almost acid, the kind of like acid dipped psychedelic nature of what we're seeing. Those long tracer shots. It's so there's a lot of inspiration there. So we can see where Panos definitely takes his inspiration. We can see a lot of that in Beyond the Black Rainbow too. Yes, that's right, regular Jeff. Nic Cage wasn't just in National Treasure. He is a national treasure. He is. So Jefferson Spatchcock, Richard Stanley, obviously you're aware that he had his domestic problems. The thing was that Spectrovision was not that big yet, and Spectrovision had pretty much launched off the idea of doing a Lovecraft trilogy. And Richard Stanley was going to direct. He was going to direct 3 films, a 3-picture deal, all Lovecraft adaptations. The first one was Color Out of Space. And so their eggs were in that basket. And then Richard Stanley turns around and he fucks up and he gets canceled. Nobody wants to work with him. He's fucking ruined it. And no one was there to pick up the pieces. That's why we haven't heard anything out of Spectrovision as of late. They're not dead, but they were dealt a serious blow, which sucks because they were doing some really stellar work. It's such a goddamn fucking waste. So yeah, Color Out of Space was his chance back. It was a big, and obviously it was fucking amazing. So Elijah was a producer on Mandy. I wonder if he was a founding member. He was a founding member of Spectrovision. It was him and I think another friend that he's worked with in the past. But yeah, and Color of Space was so freaking good. It was. Goddamn, it was a waste. But back to Mandy. So, and this is where I'm not going to get Eugene's take on this, which is fucking sucks. As a director, I wanted to hear what he had to say regarding Panos' approach. So for those unfamiliar, and yes, if you have not seen Mandy, I'm giving you this right now because I'm going to break the one rule we have, which is a moratorium on spoilers. Technically, it's been 5 years. Technically, it has. We have a 5-year moratorium on spoilers. And so this was 2018, so I had to count on my fingers. We're already past, well, technically not yet, because this is September 14th, so we're coming up. We're literally, what? Fucking 8 days away? So we're 8 days away from from where the rule is. But I'm going to break it tonight for this film in particular. I know many of you have seen it. Operation Free World, good to see you, bud. Thanks so much for being here tonight. So, Mandy, what is it all about? Is it just a revenge film? Is it just Cage rage? Is that what we're watching here? No, absolutely not. And I'm going to posit this, even though I don't have Eugene here to kind of give me a soundboard and bounce back another opinion, but I definitely want yours. So let me get through this because Aaron warned you about it. I'm going to get into my Mandy mythology. Okay, the entire film, Mandy's. This is your warning, spoiler warning. If you have not watched Mandy yet, don't listen to this, or do. But I'm giving you the opportunity to not listen because I'm going to break some shit down. This is my opportunity. This is my opportunity to break this shit down. So just like I think, just like I blew Alex's mind when I told him what Mother was about, when I broke down what Mother was actually about, I'm going to do that with Mandy now. So here's your opportunity. Is ostensibly a Greek tragedy. It has Greek undertones, Greek mythology undertones that run throughout the entire film. Each individual character represents something in Greek mythology or represents something that surrounded Greek mythology at the time. Okay? So, Nic Cage, mom and dad. Him and Selma Blair. I thought it was entertaining. It was a popcorn flick. So, first and foremost, we're going to walk down this. And, people can, your opinions, I want them. I want to hear what you think in the comments of this breakdown. We start with Nic Cage. Nic Cage's name is Red Miller. Okay? Red Miller. Miller and color red. Nic Cage's character Red Miller represents Kronos, father of the gods, father, and then creator of time, the god of time. Also, the god of the harvest. Okay? Kronos is in love with Rhea, goddess of life. So Rhea, who is life itself, is represented by Mandy, whose name is Mandy Bloom. Bloom, life. This is also conveyed in how each one of these individuals are conveyed when they're on screen. For example, whenever Red is on screen, predominantly, especially after the revenge stuff kicks in, the colors that are used on Red are typically reds. They're reds, they're oranges, they're yellows, but typically tinted with red for the color of blood and the color of and essentially Kronos' color itself. So we have Red representing Red Miller, and then we have with Mandy, everywhere she's conveyed are very, very soft toned. They're like soft yellows and blues and greens. And of course, no more so than in the house that they live in, where there are windows in every single wall. There are windows everywhere you look, you can see outside to allow Mandy to be in touch with the nature that she is the goddess of. Everywhere around you look is nature. All of Mandy's artwork, the artwork that she draws, all have nature themes because that is what Mandy is. Mandy represents life. And red represents time itself. Time and the harvest, things ending, and she's the things that begin. Beginnings and endings. These two finding harmony, obviously post the war, which, conveyed the fact that Red has ties to the military and has military training. The only war that Kronos would have been involved in was the war with the gods. When the Greek gods overthrew the Titans. So these two Titans have found their idyllic little life in the middle of nowhere to be left alone by everybody out there. It's after the war. They just want to be alone and together. Unfortunately, we introduce the Children of the Dawn, which as a whole represent Gnostic Christianity. Gnostic Christians. The Gnostic Christians come in. They see what the Titans, what Red and Mandy represent, which is freedom, which is love, which is independence, which is essentially being the stewards of their own ships. They are not bound to anyone other than who they choose to be bound to, which is themselves. The Gnostic Christians see this. The Children of the Dawn see this and immediately try to take Mandy for themselves to try and rip her out of that world that she's created for herself and into their own. They want to take advantage of that and they want to control that. That's their goal, is by bringing Mandy in and drugging her and trying to get her to conform to this idea of what nature should be. That nature bends to the will of humans. Gnostic Christians, they have the bead on everything. The problem is that everything they do is just like, I would say, what Panos thinks. Panos conveys Christianity very negatively in this light, that everything they do is completely antithetical to their goals. Everything is too big. Everything is too extreme. They always go too far. They always everyone else is an extension of their position, which goes to show the inherent narcissism of that position, where they know better. and that you have to conform to this. And if you don't, you'll be destroyed, which is what they do to Mandy when they string her up in front of, and they make Red watch. Because you can destroy life, but you can't destroy time. So then we kick off on the revenge riff. And before we dive into that, I'm going to bring him up. He's finally arrived. There he is.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
So we are like halfway through my breakdown of Mandy. Okay, so I'm gonna rip through this one real quick. So we kick off on the revenge rift. So what is going on here? Red is on the warpath and he's going after Mandy's killers. So we meet other characters. The first person that we meet, that we run into, is Bill Duke's character. Bill Duke is hanging out in his trailer, and there are little subtle clues that Panos has put into the environment that indicate exactly who Bill Duke is. Bill Duke is Janus. Janus is the god of beginnings of endings and is also the weapon keeper of the gods. What does Bill Duke, what does his character offer? What does he have waiting for Red? He has the Reaper waiting for Red, which is the crossbow and the arrows that he brings with him. He says, I've come for the Reaper because harvest, scythe. Oh, wait, there is a scythe. The one that he forges in, back home. So we've got a scythe, we got the Reaper, we've got Red, he's a miller, we got all the elements that indicate who Red is, who Kronos is, and Janus, who is neutral to the gods, the god of beginnings and endings, also the weapons keeper of the gods, who then goes in, and because he sees the beginnings and endings of things, he knows who Red is referring to, the Black Skulls, and he also knows how it's going to end. This is going to get bloody. You will likely die, but it's going to get nasty. Wherever you go, this is going to be bad because this is who you're dealing with. And here's the weapons you need, which is why he's never really taken surprise by the fact that Red is going off to hunt these people. He just says, kind of like nonplussed, I didn't realize they were in season. Crazy, hippie types, like religious hippie types. I didn't realize they were in season, but well, they fucking are. So then we have Janus. So we meet Janus. Janus, the weapons keeper of the gods, who delivers the Reaper to Kronos. Then he goes out and then he encounters the Black Skulls. Who are the Black Skulls? The Black Skulls are essentially represent the Kyries. The Kyries were, you could say they were evil spirits, but they're dark, malevolent spirits that wander the battlefields looking for souls that they can abscond with back to the underworld. They're more of a function of reality than they are like agents in and of themselves. But these predatory spirits wander long distant battlefields or areas of devastation, like the incessant logging that's going on all over the place, decimating the environment, the death of all this life. And the Black Skulls are basically traversing the area looking for the people that they can take, prostitutes, truckers that fall asleep on the wrong area of the road, and people winding up dead, these crazy motherfuckers. And Red has to take them on, and he does so successfully. Each one kind of representing major vices in humanity, these unkillable thirsts for that which is, of horrific in human nature, because they are malevolent underworld spirits. And then we get to the chemist. The chemist, the one who has created all this LSD. Where is all of this acid coming from? It's coming from the chemist who is holed up in this fucking broadcast radio tower in the middle of fucking nowhere. And so that's what he played beautifully by Bill Duke. I love it. I love when Bill Duke is low, and I love when Bill Duke is high. I love his big energy, and I love his low energy. God, he's so fucking amazing as a character actor. And so Bill Duke is exposition, man. He absolutely is. So then we get to the acid portion, but who is the chemist? And why is his acid so special? Because the chemist represents Dionysus. Dionysus, who's got his kind of finger on everything and everybody wants to party with, and is making the acid that is blowing everybody's fucking minds by tapping them into everything, tapping into the ethereal, whatever, or basically connecting them all. You remember that moment when Nic Cage is standing there, where Red is standing there, and Bill Duke says he realizes, because it's kind of a one-sided conversation, and Richard Brake is sitting there talking to him about, he's kind of a one-sided conversation. He realizes he's looking for the children of the dawn. And then he kind of like looks up he's tapping into something, and then he looks back at him and he tells him exactly where they are. Go north towards the quarry. Go north and you'll find them. Because the acid, the LSD that the chemist is preparing is the ambrosia of the gods. The food of the gods that taps them into their preternatural powers, that gives them their awareness, that gives them the knowledge, the deep knowledge that they have of these states, and also makes them aware of one another. Inherently where they are, which is why he's able to kind of like tap into it and tell Red exactly where they are. So then we move from the chemist, and then we go to find the Children of the Dawn, who have set up in this quarry, in the bottom of a quarry, and we see again the choices that they make are beyond ridiculous. We have a church that doesn't have a roof, that it's really more a monument to what they believe instead of a place for actual worship. So it's completely ego-driven, okay? We've got the center area where it's not really set up for people to worship, but it's definitely a monument to the ego of the person in charge of the same, because everything is set up to glorify the podium piece, okay? You've got the fake Bible that he made, like the weird version of the Bible that he's created that Red looks at and is like, what the fuck is this? And throws it away. You've got each one of the members of the cult themselves wandering about. Basically, there were 7 members to start with, and each one of them conveys a different deadly sin. To some degree, some of them convey multiples, but each one of them kind of physically represents a deadly sin. And then you've got, like, for example, before the big chainsaw fight, between those two, between Nic Cage and the dude, why a chainsaw that size is excessive, but even the size of just the chainsaw means something because it's too much. It's too much chainsaw to have in this fight. The small one that Nic Cage brought was just enough. Why does the other guy lose? Because that chainsaw is giant and it's fucking unwieldy and he uses it against him. Because everything is excess. Everything is antithetical. Everything is not meant for purpose. They don't think things through. For example, when you're washing a car, why would you wash a car, spit shine a car in a fucking quarry? That makes no sense. Everything they do is completely antithetical and illogical, which conveys who these people are. The only one with focus is Red. Everything else is chaos. He is bringing order to chaos. Time. He then goes down into the hole that has been dug, that this fucker Jeremiah has dug for himself, where essentially, from this hole he's dug, blinded by his ego, thinking, look all that God has given me. But what he's talking about is a hole in the ground that happens to have some pretty decent acoustics. Because he's a singer. He can hear his voice even better now because it's all ego-driven. It's never about any God. It's never about what you can tap into. It's all about him. It's always ego-driven. And so Red comes in and he becomes his God then, which is a magnificent fucking scene. So Red comes in, brings order to chaos. And throughout this psychedelic journey, as Red progresses along this effort and basically does what Red does, and Panos takes this wonderful story, this Greek tragedy of the influence and the almost savage, the savage brutality of the influence of Gnostic Christianity into the Greek, into like the realm of Greek polytheism. And then he turns it into this psychedelic, acid-driven nightmare in which one man must seek to balance the scales against those who took away the one thing he had hanging on to. Because if you'll notice, at the very beginning of the film, when they're coming in on the chopper, the one guy offers him a drink, and Red turns it down. Red doesn't drink until Mandy dies, and then he starts drinking hardcore. The one thing he had hanging on to. So it's a beautiful way to indicate, to tell a classic story that is almost indicative, that is kind of indicative of reality, but juxtapose it into this glorious, frenetic, nightmarish, acid-drenched, almost, there's a word I'm looking for, but I can't find it. I'm not even going to try and waste time trying to find it. But yes, that is what makes this movie so deep. Layers and layers. And of course, moments like the King Arthur elements. There's callbacks to the Sword in the Stone. There's callbacks to several callbacks to Arthurian legend. The moment in time, like there's this beautiful moment when Andrea and Nick she's sharing the moment about the birds that her father was killing, and that she was unable to do so. And Red's that moments like that are absolutely brilliant. Okay. Now, Wrote It No Last Name says, JL, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. You're right, but not in this case. Sorry about that. So yeah, but that's my breakdown. That is my breakdown on this one. Why Mandy is so fucking amazing. And I hope I didn't spoil it for you. I hope you're not mad at me. If you did listen the whole way through, then, you know, I warned you ahead of time. But yeah, that's my breakdown. Let me see what people got to say here.
Well, hang on.
Oh, shit.
I'm still here.
I knew you were, but I was, but you got something. Okay, go. Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it.
I'd like to say about the movie Mandy, I liked it.
Really? Really?
I just wanted to see the look on your face.
all that.
It is an adequate movie.
I feel like Chris Tucker in Fifth Element. We got to say, thrilled. Walks off. Is like,
ow.
Commercial.
No, because they're going into Mandy. And the reason I like about Mandy is it's something, it doesn't follow the rules of a lot of films. It is able to go in terms of abstract imagery, the colorscape, the reds, the blues, and you'll see some kind of naturalistic, you'll see a little bit of naturalistic lighting in terms of light bulb, but the color space and everything that takes place in is different. Even the sky is different. And this had to be really fun to storyboard. I know there's going to be jokes there. Storyboard. And deciding the lighting scheme and the color scheme, because this is where cinematography and art direction mold perfectly together. Because you had to choose the color for the lighting and how it's going to respond to the house, to the woods, to the bikers, to inside the van, to their house with the cult. Like, everything had to come together, because you can't just have, I want a pure red light and then I'm going to have a red wall. But what's the tone that it's going to be? Because there's so many different types of reds out there. Another thing that a lot of people know is cameras only shoot in RGB. So 3 colors, red, green, blue. And if you hit a certain color scape on the camera, like a certain red or certain green, or certain blue, it'll actually peak. And if you've ever seen something like in the background, like maybe an alarm clock, and the lettering looks raised, that's what happens. It's a certain hue. So they have to pre-plan a lot of that color stuff. Because if you're going to throw in a red light on the same tone of a red wall, your camera can't tell the difference between that red light and the red tone of the wall. It can't. All the camera sees red is red. So they had to go hand in hand. This is a magnificent film, and it's a story that comes across in an original way through its colorscape. Mandy, to me, has always been a sensory experience. That's the biggest thing. It's the sound design, it's the feel, it's the visual aspect of it that just build into something that is very beautiful and reminds us why movies exist and how movies can still be an art form today. Through all the rom-coms and superhero movies and all of those, that big budget stuff, there are artists out there that are willing to take risks. Because we talk about that a lot on the show, taking risks. Oh, this film was safe. Oh, they didn't really take a risk. No, he was like, I'm going to risk everything. You know the rules of cinema? Fuck them. JL, you're muted.
Sorry, I had to mute myself because I didn't want to jump in. I didn't want to jump on you. But the minute, number one, all the title cards. The title cards are beautifully done. For example, like, Mandy, the children of the dawn, to indicate what's going to happen, what's happening next. But the thing, the minute Panos goes like fucking heavy metal for the moments when Red is unconscious and he's like the things that Red is dreaming about, the minute he goes heavy metal, things are going to be different. That's what I fucking love about that. whether it was after Mandy's death, seeing Mandy's corpse, or Mandy pulling the serpent's eye out of the demon, like very akin to the book that she was reading. When you're willing to go in those directions, that when you're trying to convey that is fucking brilliant shit. And I love the chances that they took on that. Not to mention, I will say this, I want to throw it on top of it. The fucking composition by Jóhann Jóhannsson, who, if you're not familiar with Jóhann Jóhannsson, the stuff that he did was like he composed scores for Prisoners, Arrival, the one with Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner, Sicario, The Theory of Everything. His shit is as pulse pounding and as driving as everything in this. It is one of the most pitch perfect scores I've ever heard. That works so beautifully in tandem with what Panos is conveying visually. And it's so rare to get that.
So in terms of the scores that he has done, and I didn't know he did Sicario. I love the movie Sicario. The score
and Mother
and
Mother, yeah.
And I really enjoyed Arrival also. He is somebody who his score stands out, and that's rare today. We know the Hans Zimmer's, and really honestly, it's about it. It's just Hans Zimmer now. James Horner passed away years ago, and then John Williams is finally retired.
Yeah, John.
But so you really only kind of have Hans Zimmer, who's the only one making scores that really stands out, and then him coming up. I listened to Sicario's soundtrack, and his work in this film is incredible. And I love how he's willing to take sound and he'll play with just these pulses in the background, and just it's kind of this radiating. It's a full encompassing score that reinforces the reality that you're seeing, and it's rare to see that today.
Oh yeah, God, such a fucking. I'm so glad that Panos got to work with him, because if this film was like one of two that was released posthumously for Johansson, but man, that it just goes to show how important your scoring is. And how much of a driving force of your film it will always be. Sir Cab says that King Crimson song that the movie opens with is actually my second favorite, though. I love King Crimson as well. It was a good friend of mine that introduced me to them. So, and let me see. Ivy Getcher said, jail made us all momentarily picture him cosplaying Ruby Rod. Yes. Absolutely. If I was tall and thin, I could do Ruby Rod. So. Rodin says that the TV show Legion took some similar risks in lighting, blocking, and surrealism to enhance the storytelling. Agreed. One thing, and I love what Panos brought to it and his inspirations, and obviously he definitely diverges a lot from his dad, because his dad was equally as famous. But if you want to get some raw Cosmatos, definitely go and check out Beyond the Black Rainbow, because it's a fantastic film. And then of course for his most recent stuff, check out Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, because he directs one of the episodes of that. It is now streaming on Netflix right now if you get the chance. Amazing fucking series. All of them so good. And Panos does one that is so in the vein of like Mandy, but also Beyond the Black Rainbow. It's almost like he's creating a universe in which these elements can all play. So, but they're not connected, but there's definitely there's connective tissue amongst them, which I think is really fucking cool. So, but yeah, Mandy, dude. I was blown away the first time I saw it. I immediately had to show it to all my fucking friends. And I remember the first time I watched this with my friend Cody, that you met, because I was like, dude, we got to watch this together. We sat down and we had like a discussion, like 2 hours afterwards. We had this discussion about what this film was really about, what it was conveying. So yeah, I'm fucking blown away. I love this movie. I'm likely going to show it again over in the Discord. One day I will show it, because it just can't be denied, the amazingness of this.
I think it's good. It's in terms of movies wise, this is an art form.
Right.
And I don't want to give spoilers. I don't want to dig too deep into, I really love surrealism and surrealistic horror, because you can really experiment. And me and Johnny actually worked on a film a couple of weeks ago called Trick, and the director wanted, his words were, I want somewhere between Mandy and Suspiria.
Nice.
And
wait, like Suspiria remake, or like
old Suspiria?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So it's like a lot of reds, blues color palette. We threw naturalistic lighting completely out of the window. And we're able to have some cool effects. So that way it's like half his face is blue and we had a red light shining in, but the blue would overpower it. But when the other character would block the light, all of a sudden their face would turn red. Lots of cool effects and stuff like that. So it's
the way you can convey the transition of emotions in moments like that, like when a person enters a room and a person reacts to it, and then the color kind of like almost like they feel it so intensely that it's affecting the environment around them. I fucking love that shit, dude. I fucking love it.
Like, you get to play so much. And you get to make every scene like a painting. And that's what Mandy does. Is sometimes it's a grotesque painting, but it's still a painting. And not all artwork is beautiful, but it's appreciative. And I love that.
And I will say, Mandy gave me the one weirdest thing on my bucket list is that if the apocalypse ever does happen, there will be a point where I light my cigarette off the flaming skull of my enemy. I will. So...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I will. You have to light a cigarette off of the flaming dismembered or the decapitated head of your enemy. That's
how else are you going to show dominance to everybody else?
Right. Of course, if you just got into a knife fight with a masked biker chick who's trying to like cut you to, trying to stab you to death, and you just like twisted her head around in one clean like Bruce Lee maneuver, you deserve to crush a fucking rail after that. Just like, whoa, just fucking crush it. Like, you earned it, my friend. You earned it. Like crush that vicious snowflake, and like kill that vicious snowflake, and like we're not talking bumping rails, we're talking crushing rails, like shard of glass, Scarface.
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm pretty even right now.
that's when you straight up take the knife out of them, and you're like, oh,
I'm all set, all good. Oh, I love it. Regular Jeff says, I told my coworker about Mandy and he's not seen it. Showed him the trailer and he thought, and he watched it that night. He likes horror movies. Hoped he would be here tonight. I would really love to hear what he thinks. Definitely. And that's what I want to ask the audience. There are so many layers to Mandy, from a sound perspective, from a lighting perspective, from a narrative perspective, direction, the acting, the writing itself. There are so many, you could peel this onion for hours. Which is a shame that we only have a limited amount of time to talk about it. But the movie is so magnificent in its depth. But there are so many different ways so many different things you can take away from it. You get from a technical aspect to a narrative aspect to like the things that you can conjure as to what is really going on, what's it really trying to convey, how otherworldly is this journey, how much is within Red's mind, how much is not, how much is conveyed realistically. But it doesn't matter because whatever you take away is right. That's the important thing. But I'm very curious because it can go in such a number of directions. I want to ask you, and this is a little bit more of an in-depth question. When you first watched Mandy, what was your initial takeaway? What did you draw from this film, from this well that so much can be drawn from? Was it just your basic revenge riff, psychedelic revenge riff? Did you go deeper? Did you see deeper? What did you take away from it? I'm very, very curious as to what your interpretations are. So maybe it's a bit of a long comment, maybe not, but I'd love to hear what y'all think, especially about this movie in particular. Let us know down in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com. And even if you have a completely different breakdown from mine, I'm not saying that mine is right. I'm saying that mine's well informed, but I'm not saying that mine is the correct one. If you've got one, I'd love to fucking hear what you have to say. If you took away something completely different, bring it in from left field, dude. Make that throw. I want to hear what you got to say. I really, really do. Because this is one you can take. This is one that can go for miles. It really, really can. Javier Hara says, hey guys, do you consider the storyboards, you know what I'm talking about, are surreal?
No, those are 100% real.
Let's see. Jefferson Spatula says you can get an actual size prop of the Beast, Red's Chrome Action Mandy. Yes, if you go to the Mandy website, you can actually get a full size replica of the Beast, which is the scythe that he uses, the big one. I've heard some bad reports, some like bad reviews that that they don't package it really well considering the weight, and that there have been some that have come in chipped, or with scratches on it. So that's neither here nor there, but nonetheless, you can get, for a mere $300, you can get a 44-inch replica of the Beast. You have, and hang it on your wall. Sir Captain says, my first takeaway was the revenge bit, but I immediately went rabbit hole diving on the net for looking for answers. Hell yeah. Fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So much you can take away from it. Or like when he drank beer from his skull and drive angry. Fucking hell. Yeah. Nic Cage is the king of just, just whatever. Oh man. So definitely let us know down there in the comments below. Regular Jeff says, I didn't know about the Greek mythology. I saw it as taking place in an alternate dimension with the superhuman gimps and the dual moons. See? The superhuman gimps. I like that. Very cool. All right. Well, Eugene, you arrived just in time, because you know what time it is.
It's trivia time.
We're such bros. All right. Since you're here, I will let you do it. So remember, y'all, it's trivia time. So the first person to get the correct answer to this trivia question wins something special from the Week in Horror store. So be the first in the live chat. I've got it pulled up right now. I got it on all messages.
I think I have it up also.
It was such a close race. It was like neck and neck on the last week. But absolutely. Eugene, take it away. Give them their trivia question tonight.
All right, so get those Google fingers ready. The trivia question is, what was the title of the planned third film in the Demons franchise that was eventually remade into a more sophisticated and unconnected film? What was the title of the planned third film in the Demons franchise that was eventually remade into a more sophisticated and unconnected film? The first person to comment below wins an item from the Week in Horror store.
And that answer is it's already in.
Already. Sherry Tilly, congratulations. The correct answer was the church.
And Sherry Tilly, I've got your name down. Congratulations. All right. And be ready for it because we're going to be sending you something from the new season 5 line.
Ooh.
So all of the cool stuff, the new stuff that we made. So we have the entire season 5 line ready to go after the season finale. And we're going to be sending you something from the new season 5 line. I'm very excited about this. And, you weren't here. Congratulations, Sherry Tilly. The correct answer was the church. So, which is weird because it was the church and it's about these individuals that go and wake up this ancient evil and stuff like this. Very much like the Keep. Kind of the same. The Keep had a lot of elements. Only the Keep had Nazis and shit like that. But nonetheless, really, really good film. But there was one thing that we didn't get a chance to do. So congratulations again, Sherry Tilly. But before we close out the show, I had something I wanted to share with you, but you weren't here, Eugene. But you're here now, so I'll tell you now. There is a new item on the Teespring that I put up there. I saw it and I was inspired and I had to do it. There's a brand new item that's available there. I just added it yesterday. And
what is it?
I took your catchphrase, the limited edition artwork we had for the limited edition number 4 work that we had for the shirt, and you can get it as a puzzle now. So it's
a shit gets real puzzle?
Yes, there is a shit gets real puzzle. So you could put it together and you could put it and you could frame it if you want. So yes, there is a shit gets real puzzle.
So I'm going to order that right now.
Yes. Yes, there is a shit gets real puzzle that you can get. And I saw that. I was like, oh, I got to do it because shit gets real is just the best. It's just the absolute best. So
I love it. I have to. I want to see if I can get a nice spot right here.
That'll look fucking sexy. That will look good. I was thinking about possibly doing puzzles for all of the limited edition artwork because we don't really have posters. But the puzzles would be kind of cool, and you could do like a whole collection of them, like all the limited edition artworks. Not to mention the new one that we are about to release in season 5, which you guys are. We're gonna unveil that I think next week we're gonna unveil that. But we have a new one coming up, limited edition shirt number 6. It is coming, I promise you. And of course, but yeah, you can get a shit gets real with a little Reaper and everything puzzle that you can now frame on your wall. So I think that'd be fucking cool.
All right,
shit
shit got real.
Shit got real. Shit absolutely got real. Not to mention, I also kind of unveiled a new version of the opening trailer tonight. So I changed up, did something a little bit different. So, but we're gonna carry that into season 5. So like I said, all cool things, excellent shit coming in season 5. Stay tuned. And you know what that means? It is time to close out this episode of Week in Horror. God dang it, man. This I've been looking forward to this episode for so long, but it is time. We have come to the end right there, like in 2 hours. So let's kick this thing off, So I want to thank you all so very, very much for joining us. We truly hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, smash that like and subscribe button and be sure to hit that bell so you never miss a future episode. Season 5 coming up. Join us next week for the Season 4 finale, when we look back on an amazing 4 years of Week in Horror, and we check out the bonkers fun of Jennifer's Body, the Chilean psychological horror The Stranger, the Halloween horror sequel The Houses October Built 2, and the graphic violence of Mikey. This week was Mandy. Next week it's Mikey. It's going to be fucking amazing. Be sure to check out Josh Olsen's store at badsamurai.store. He does all the awesome artwork you see splattered all over our merch, all over our limited artwork. It's fucking amazing, which you can find over at Teespring, as well as a Shit Gets Real puzzle. It's fucking great. For more from Week in Horror, check out all the bloody links we have down in the description. Follow us on the socials for the Daily Splatter, your daily horror recommendation. Join our Discord for watch parties and big announcements about our film productions we got going on in the background. And support the show through channel memberships, super chats, super thanks, PayPal, or even our Patreon. Join the higher tier. We have 2 tiers now. We made a big change. $1, $3. That's it. That's all. You will become a Patreon. So you can join the $3 one and get access to all the behind the scenes stuff, or support us for $1 a month. $1 a month. What are you waiting for? Join us. As always, thank you all so very, very much for being the greatest audience a little horror film podcast could possibly have. I am JL.
And I'm Eugene.
We will see you all next week for the season finale. And as always, stay scared.